Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com, with me as your host, Chris Zwing McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me to discuss and break down this second round of Bumblebee trailers is Justin Raspberry Ripple Changer Bell. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. So, Bumblebee, Trailer 2, oh my word. Okay, earlier today, Paramount Pictures dropped 2 more trailers, I believe one was for the Singapore market, for their upcoming December release Bumblebee movie, to an incredible online reaction. After the pretty solid first trailer that explained the basic premise, Paramount followed up with 2 more that are just packed with some amazing glimpses into some very good-looking G1 style characters. First off, Justin, joining me today, thank you. What were your initial thoughts after seeing the trailers today?
Oh, well, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, they kind of gave us that little glimpse of the Blitzwing / Starscream in one of the trailers.
We incorrectly called Starscream.
Exactly. Give you a little hint that they obviously had some of that G1 aesthetic in mind. But yeah, when you the first little snippet of just Soundwave popping his chest open and ejecting Ravage out, oh my god, that was incredible.
I mean, okay, so let's do a quick rundown of it before we get into the details. So, in the first trailer that dropped today, the kind of first one that we saw, it was basically the case of introducing a few more human characters. So you had a guy called Mimo, who is played by Jorge Lenderborg Jr. He's one of Charlie, aka Haley Steinfeld's friends. Yep. We have Uncle Hank, played by Len Cariou, the guy that sells Charlie her bug, and we get to see a few more scenes with Agent Burns and Agent Powell, aka John Cena and John Ortiz, respectively. But I must admit, the most important cameos in this trailer come via Cybertron itself, and we get some unbelievably brilliant introductions to some absolute fan favourites. So Prime returns, first as a hologram message, and then in full on what appears to be Cybertron in the middle of a battle against Soundwave, Ravage, Shockwave, a number of Seekers, and they're all transforming into that kind of, was it like a tri-jet type kind of thing, which is just like that Cybertron jet mode, which is so awesome. We also get, on Back on Earth, we see even more from the new Triple Changers, Shatter and Dropkick, and of course, as previously mentioned, incorrectly identified as Starscream on our last Bumblebee news burst, Blitzwing. And it's also mentioned by someone I saw on Twitter that we might even have seen Barricade in an older style police car, but I suppose we'll see how that pans out. Now, let's get in. I mean, obviously, human characters, whatever. It makes, people that have seen the trailer, they'll understand what they're there for. Let's get to the important part. The designs. They've gone really close to G1, but it still kind of has... It's not like, obviously, it can't go full G1, otherwise it's too simplified and doesn't look right. But this, I think it's a good balance, right?
Oh, they've done it just about perfectly. I mean, you see Soundwave and you immediately know who it is
instantly.
But just some certain parts of him are a little bit more layered, a little bit more weathered, a little bit more kind of quote unquote realistic. Not quite so blocky as the G1 designs, but certainly inspired by that with a little bit more detail and kind of surface texturing and things like that throughout, which makes a big difference. And anybody who kind of has used that as an excuse in the Bayverse, well, they wouldn't look realistic if you did them that way. Well, this kind of shoots that out of the water, because I think they look. I mean, we only got like brief snippets of it in the trailer, but even the brief snippets looked pretty amazing. And I mean, obviously people are a little worried that, those great designs are only going to feature in like a 5-minute flashback to Cybertron or whatever and then be gone. And who knows, that might be possible. But just the fact that they're kind of even bothering to touch on that and even showing that and obviously using it as a selling point. I mean, they're featuring it in the trailers pretty heavily. So they obviously think that is a way to attract people to the franchise, which tells me that they find some importance in that. I think that's a very good sign.
Well, something that you touched on there that I think we should kind of bring to the forefront here is, obviously this is a soft reboot of sorts. That's what it's been described as, and it's what it kind of seems to be here. I mean, it's still operating in the Bayverse, So, I mean, the way around it for them in terms of the designs and all that kind of stuff is that it just predates what's already come before. So, in that sense, it's a little concerning that we're just going to have more of the same when it comes back on Earth. Bumblebee looks cool. He looks okay. He's a much more simplified version of the Bayverse Bumblebee. He's not your classic G1 looking Bumblebee, but there are certain homage points there, like his little ears flap up like little horns when he sits on that couch and breaks it, which I think is quite cute. So there's a lot of cute aspects in there. But obviously with it being a soft reboot as such, there is that worry that it still really is connected. I'm hoping that following this, they see how big using those G1 style designs have been, and that's the way they go with it in the future. But I don't know, I'm a little concerned as to where this movie fits in. That, like you just said, it could just be a flashback that we see for 5 minutes, and Shockwave looks unbelievably good.
Oh yeah,
unbelievably good, doesn't he?
Oh, he looks amazing, and what's the weird kind of disconnect, and where you get to some of your issues with how this fits in, is, and it might be in name only, but Soundwave and Shockwave did appear in previous Bayverse movies, and it looked nothing like they looked here. Yeah, and you can excuse that away as saying, well, this is how they looked on Cybertron. But I mean, if anything, Cybertron has always looked more complicated, and they simplified their look when they went to Earth, and this is kind of the reverse of that, where they simplified on Cybertron, look more convoluted and complex on Earth. I mean, Shockwave was some like weird cybernetic worm controlling, I don't know, crazy
it was
weirdo
weird
thing.
Oh, that Shockwave with the massive worm. That unfortunately you've made it so I have to flash that up in the background, but I'm
sorry.
Another question for you. It looks as if Bumblebee is in hiding from what appears to be Decepticons in Shatter and Dropkick, obviously.
Yep.
How do you feel about their inclusion in this movie? Do you think they're kind of unnecessary extra characters, or do you think there's enough interest there to grab you?
In a way, I mean, when we heard at first that, Blitzwing's going to be in the movie, but, then there's going to be 2 triple changers who aren't Blitzwing, it sounded really bizarre. But I like the way they're portrayed, just the trailer, how one of them goes from a helicopter to a car to a robot, and it's all pretty seamless. I mean, that's kind of a neat idea. I am a little worried because those 2 characters in their transformation sequence do look very Bayverse-y, or however you want to call it, like very similar to kind of the Bayverse Transformers. But I think they're interesting looking designs, interesting looking characters. I'm always for including new characters if you can, especially if, I don't know how, Blitzwing is so much of a unique, plane tank combination. I don't know how they would use him in the same way they're using these other 2. I'm a little worried they might just be cannon fodder. They might just be bringing them in so they can get destroyed, and they might have, in a way, written themselves into a corner where they feature all of the important Decepticons in the other Bayverse movies, so now they're forced to invent characters so they don't conflict with what they've done already, which is kind of unfortunate. It's one of the side effects of doing these like soft reboot / prequel stories, is that you're shoehorned into what characters you can and cannot use. But no, I think they're fine. I mean, the sequence where they appear and run over to John Cena or whatever, it's pretty interesting.
I'll have to play that music in the background.
And I think they did the mechanism for the triple changer thing pretty cool. I mean, it happened really fast, like all those Bayverse transformations do, and it was, I kind of rewind the trailer a couple times to say, oh, the helicopter and the car and the robot are all the same guy. First it's like, wait, where's the helicopter? Where's the car? Why are they flashing it all together? And then I was like, oh yeah, triple changers. They're all the same dude. But so I'm mixed.
I feel a similar way. I feel like I'm interested to see how they're kind of portrayed in the film, but at the same time, I don't know if they're necessary, but we'll see. I mean, the amount of characters that you can choose from in the Transformers lore, and they go to something new, which again, I'm not completely averse of them doing that, but I just don't trust the people involved a lot of the time that are doing that. I do trust, like, a lot of the designers and creators when it comes to kind of like that base level at the toy level when they're coming up with new characters, but I'm not sure if the ones that know it and the ones that have lived and breathed it their entire life. I'm not sure if just some marketing exec has gone, let's do one called Dropkick and one called Shatter, and they could be anyway. I don't know the ins and outs, but it screams of that to me sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not as much of a Transformers aficionado as I am G.I. Joe, so I can't like go into the history books and tell you, well, this is the character they should have used. But I gotta think, with the hundreds and hundreds of Transformers characters out there, they could have come up with a couple that maybe paid homage to something that came before, rather than just pulling these two new characters out of thin air.
I know, and also make some of those maybe a little bit uncool characters, or characters that haven't had a shine or any kind of history behind them, give them something. But anyway, yes, that could also be legally difficult. We don't know. But I'm sure out of all of them, they could have picked it. Anyway, that. So we also got a second trailer, which I think was the Singapore, was for the Singapore market at least, something along those lines. And I only saw it a few minutes ago, well, before recording this, and sent you a message saying, holy shit, there's a second one out there.
Yeah.
And it's even longer, has loads more scenes in it. It's like loads of extended scenes, so we get to see Blitzwing tracking Bumblebee, which I'm guessing is the beginning of the film.
Looks like that.
Or it could be Cybertron at the beginning, but we see Blitzwing tracking Bumblebee. They fight. He asks where Prime is. He throws him off a cliff. Bumblebee, before he shuts down, scans a Volkswagen Beetle, a yellow one in the distance, before he shuts down. And I'm guessing then just turns into one and is picked up by Uncle Hank, I believe his name is, at some stage. That's where Haley Steinsfeld comes in, or Charlie, as she is in the film.
Mm-hmm.
On her birthday, she gets Bumblebee from Uncle Hank and takes him home. That's when he transforms, when a bit falls off him and she's underneath him, and so on and so forth. So we go through that whole process of them finding out who, what the hell this is, what's going on. And then we see way more of John Cena and his character. So he's... by the looks of things, it seems to be Sector 7. They're agents of Sector 7, John Ortiz and John Cena. They are after Bumblebee because the Decepticons have basically come to these guys and said, look, you've got to find this war criminal, as they're calling him. If you don't, we're going to destroy the entire Earth looking for him. So they need they're looking for their help. Otherwise they'll, So I get the feeling John Cena is a reluctant bad guy in this one. What do you think?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
There's one scene where he throws just Charlie to the ground, and that seems to piss Bumblebee off, and then there's like a big fight. So, I mean, but there's loads of stuff in there, way more on Cybertron. We get to see Prime in what looks like a pretty close approximation of his G1 styling.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. I mean, it does look very close. He's actually got the full faceplate instead of just the mouth or whatever. And it looks very, very close to, much more pronounced kind of broad chest with the windows and things like that. So it was a very nice kind of approximation of a movie version of that character.
Yeah. And again, we can't really, the funny thing is, as much as you see these trailers, even if you see, I've done it loads before, you watch like 3 or 4 of the trailers that are around the movie before it comes out, and it still doesn't tell you like what you think it was. The trailers almost like divert your attention to something else, and then when you see the film, a lot of the time you're actually surprised and like, hang on, that scene wasn't even in the movie that was in the trailer. That happened a few times, didn't it? Jeez.
In the ramp up to G.I. Joe Retaliation, I spent way more hours than I care to admit doing screen grabs of every single trailer that came out. And you think every single minute of the film, but like you said, some stuff, especially with Retaliation, like there were sequences in those trailers that were just never used in the film. It was really bizarre.
And what a waste of time that was, Justin? Anyway, something related to G.I. Joe now, actually. Do you think we'll see any of the combined universe appear in this film, either in a cameo or a Nick Fury Marvel-style post-credit scene?
I would love to say yes. I mean, they've kind of said it. I'm not confident of that, but I mean, they've set it up perfectly. It takes place in the 80s, which is, G.I. Joe's heyday. At one point, it almost looks like the helicopter alt mode might even be an 80s. I don't know if it was a Huey, and they kind of appeared pretty quickly. It was tough to really track exactly what helicopter it was, but it had that similar shape and design. So I don't know. I mean, if would I like to see that happen? Yeah, as much as the expand or combined universe isn't something I have a whole lot of confidence in them pulling off, I would love to see them throw some Easter eggs in there. It would be amazing, like after the credits, to have, somebody appear. I don't know who it could be. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be The Rock or whatever if this takes place in the 80s, way before he was Roadblock. But to see some kind of tie-in would be pretty awesome. I would like to think that even with as much publicity as the combined universe has gotten, they could still do it as kind of as a surprise. I haven't seen a lot of people who are really expecting it. But even and I don't know who they would tag. I almost think it would be a cooler surprise if they tied in Cobra somehow, like had Destro, like rather than just generic army guy who might be General Hawk, maybe like a really unique looking Cobra operative or something that could really knock the socks off, have a really cool, classic style Destro walk out and say he wants to purchase some
Cybertronian technology. Yes. That would be amazing. And that's all I'm going to be thinking of now, and that's what I'm going to expect at the end of that movie.
And then you're crushingly disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Well, mate, I'm a G.I. Joe fan. Crushing disappointment is like breakfast, mate. Okay,
like taking a breath. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Bumblebee trailers look dope, look amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with these characters. As we mentioned, we've seen Soundwave, we've seen Shockwave, we've seen a ton of these Seekers, which is something that I'm desperate to kind of work out who is who. I mean, I've heard people say, is the green one Acid Storm? Is this Blitzwing but on Cybertron and stuff like that? So there's some really interesting things coming out of this, and I think only more fun things are going to come out of it. So anyway, that's the Bumblebee trailer, or two of them. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my wonderful co-host Justin Bell. See you next time, and as always, full force.
See ya.
I'm adding that at the end. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of these platforms with feedback, questions, or to say, who do you think you are? A serious operation now? No, not even close. Look out for more of these news bursts that we are posting on the Facebook page from now on. Full Force.